I started losing my child. It is really scary. You must immediately sound the alarm. Most of the doctors give up on such children. Society can't help them. You are really ready to believe anything. Hello. Why does an absolutely normal child suddenly develop autism? What can parents do to prevent it? What role does the time play here? Why does suddenly the child stop hearing her mother? What do parents of autistic children dream of? Who does need psychological help most of all? Watch the answers in our video. Hello, Natalia. Please tell us about your daughter Ina. What happened? The child was born absolutely healthy. When I was pregnant, I had morning sickness though, like probably half of other pregnant women do. The baby was born at 38 weeks, with no complications during childbirth. Everything was fine. She was developing fast, according to her age. We have videos of her 9 months old saying mama, papa, and around 1 year old. She was fine, starting to say phrases like mama give. She was 14 months then, mama drink. At 16 months old we had MMR vaccination. In the morning. In the evening she started having seizures. We called ambulance. Doctors arrived, looking kind of lazy, not really helping. Daughter's fever reached 40 degrees and we got into the ambulance car, being sent from hospital to hospital until 4 a.m. Not getting any medical help. Until we found ourselves in one suburb hospital, where she got anti-seizure medication, and that was it. Though it was clear she was having reaction to the vaccine. I've been saying we had MMR vaccination in the morning. Still there in the hospital, I've noticed something is wrong happening to my child. Literally everything started at 11 p.m. Seizures, fever, she was screaming, petrified. That was continuing like that until 6 a.m. in the morning. 6 a.m. when they gave her an injection, and that's it. Saying that probably that's when I started losing my child. If you decide to vaccinate your children, it's better doing so after 2 years old, MMR especially strictly after 2 years old until the brain is fully formed. In about 3 days I noticed her behaving strange. Not responding. I blamed it on stress, on some kind of psychological reaction to the hospital and doctors. After I talked to the doctor, asking what happened to my child, she shrugged her shoulders. How do I know what was that? I've signed ourselves out of hospital, refusing staying there, and we went home. After I got home, I saw my child, usually lively running, jumping onto the sofa, approaching the sofa, standing and not knowing how to climb onto it. That's only now I understand. She forgot. She forgot what to do to get onto the sofa. Somehow we thought then it's okay, she's just scared and stressed after being in hospital. But in a week, I have noticed that my child, instead of approaching me and asking mama drink, started just bringing me a cup. Then she just started taking me by the hand and bringing to the cup. And I told her, ask me what you want. She was just staring at me, silent. As soon as you have noticed first signs of disorder, sound an alarm immediately. The longer it develops, the longer it will take to come out of it. I sounded an alarm. Me and my husband went to the neurologist. The doctor said, "You are being silly, your child is normal. She's just small, it happens, you just have to wait." After we consulted with neurologists in other cities, later it can't be so that the child would lose her acquired skill. If she wouldn't talk at all, it could have been understandable. It's like when you learn how to walk and then suddenly you forget you can't walk. What can I say? Surely it's not normal. I was a young mother. It was my first child. I trusted doctors. I was hoping. I waited. Even certain animals can develop autism. For example, after vaccination, dogs. There have been cases when a dog just starts walking in circles, walking non-stop, can suddenly become aggressive, barking, biting. After that, dogs live no longer than 5 years. Me and my husband noticed that she doesn't respond to our speech even at home. We suspected she was deaf. She acted like deaf. We went to the speech therapist, checked her hearing. It was fine. We started seeing doctor after doctor. Nobody noticed anything wrong about her. Even after hearing my concerns. As I realize now, they waited, pulled the time to confirm the diagnosis with certainty. It was obvious to us our daughter was not fine. We started searching specialists. All in all, doctors started concluding traits of autism spectrum disorder with cognitive behavioral disorder and sensory motoric developmental delay. That's the diagnosis. I panicked. After I found what it means. After searching the internet, I got scared. Parents struggle to accept the diagnosis. It takes a long time, many months, several courses of rehabilitation, sometimes a year of work with children and parents to accept autism in their kids. It is truly difficult. Once it became possible to us, we started looking for solutions and treatments, bringing her to different cities, started using Tomatis method, microcurrent reflexotherapy, though they promised results to us, but there was nothing. It was going as it was going. My child was attending normal kindergarten, where we were just bullied. You see those unhappy teachers' faces? That was very difficult to see. The attitude to my child. There was no understanding of my child, not even compassion.
Я хотела какого-то понимания к своему ребенку, даже не сочувствия, чтобы ее просто понимали. Сталкивались мы совершенно с обратным.
Our society is just used to convenient children, but particularly those children who are not convenient, non-compliant, original in a way, particularly those children need socialization most of all. Society can't help them, it refuses them. Parents do really have a fear of attending early child care institutions. Ordinary institutions just reject them. In case of integrated institutions, groups that accept children with more serious conditions, parents are just afraid that it will influence their children negatively, that they will acquire certain bad habits. So that's a paradox. On one side, children need socialization, on the other side, they are not accepted there. So we have been looking for solutions. I have been doing all the training and exercises with her, and so no results, nothing in return, emptiness. All our trainings were ending with my outburst of desperation and depression. I haven't slept half of the night then. It was a feeling of total emptiness in my child, but sometimes something should be there. I said to myself, she should be hearing me. In such cases, you must keep going on with the trainings, even though the mother might not see the immediate results, might think like all the forks are falling into emptiness. It is not. Everything is being remembered, everything is being recorded, even after the consciousness, after the consciousness is activated back, everything is being restored very fast. If the child didn't have trainings, was abandoned by his parents, then to restore memory and recover the cognition is way more difficult. It can take years. As a result, after I have gone through such desperation, I heard about your method. I wrote to Natalia, and that evening, long time, I was waiting for the video. I could not sleep. I got the video. Haven't slept the whole night. And I watched the video, and when Natalia was asking Andrei if they can help our daughter, and he said yes, I was all having goosebumps, shivering, crying, tears. I was listening to it again and again. When the mother contacted us for help regarding her child, though her daughter turned 6 years old by then, she did not have such basic skills like dressing, putting her socks on, eating herself. The developmental delay was quite obvious. Doctors can't do anything to help such children, and society doesn't accept them. They think it's not possible to change anything about such children, or change not much. But when I started working with her, I saw that in the field of variance, in the future, there are options when the child has an absolutely healthy consciousness and life and body. And we took that option from the future and started pulling it towards the present so that the child would become healthy. In general, saying straight, I'm a skeptic, rational, not believing in supernatural something. When they say it's not possible to cure your child, we can only train her and correct like they train dogs. That's difficult to hear. And who needs psychological help here is really a parent and not a child. Today, training of such kids is the only option. Everybody who's helping such kids, schools, healers, the only thing they can do is to train them. That's strange, as once child's consciousness is activated, the chances of child recovery increase dramatically. Parents really need help and support. Moreover, the recovery starts with parents. Child's consciousness activates when parent's karma has been worked through. The starting work is always with parents. In 5 days after Natalia and Andrei worked with us, I started noticing great changes. My daughter looked at me differently. she came over to me and started playing hand-clapping game Ладушки with me. That was the game she played with me when she was 1.5 years old. Then it was the child that we remember. It was like I have finally seen her. Like if she has woken up, I asked my daughter, "Where have you been? Have you slept all the time?" The first what happens after we've done our work, the consciousness activates. The eyes of the child change. They look differently at their parents' emotional component. Relationship with the child's mother changes. What is happening now? We keep our exercises, learning. She can read, she can count, she knows all the letters. Pronunciation and speaking still remain for us to work on. But she finally speaks words, which we have been aiming for years. We can see here great changes in short time. Speech development. The child started repeating the letters, memorizing letters and words, phrases. It is years of hard work, believe me. We were so happy, I was so happy. She started speaking. She started noticing us parents, her sister. I was just sending a photo with her hugging her sister. That's the first time in a year. Her sister is 1 year old when she started noticing her, showing her affection. Her father called us today on video call and she came over saying, "Daddy, I want to play." And I gave her the phone. She is expressing freely her emotions now. Sure, I'm expecting more changes, more development, but it depends on us, of course. I'm certain now she will be okay. I totally changed attitude to my child. I rethought many things, and thanks Natalia for that. Let me explain. I have been in such a refusal, such a refusal and denial in the beginning. After all this started, first I was in such a desperation, but after I have accepted autism in my child, that was in my head was like, when I can explain you, when you are driving a car and thinking, God forgive me for that, it's better to crash with her together, to stop all mine and her suffering at once. It's so difficult for parents. The whole their world is shrinking to one point, dead end, where there is no way out. Suicidal thoughts can appear. Parents do not know the way out, where to look for help. Psychological help can only give a short, one-time emotional relief, after which they experience even harder crash. It is the very bottom of the suffering they find themselves, and then it's really important to find that inner power inner strength despite all the desperation and ask for help. Find someone who can help to activate child's consciousness. The hardest is when you have to protect your child from bullying from adults in the kindergarten, not even from children's side. Our modern society is getting extremely aggressive, appearing not just in the streets, supermarkets, and political protests, it appears in kindergartens. If the child is different from others, walking or talking or behaving differently, it provokes aggression from others. Not because teachers are bad, teachers are hardly managing, under-resourced, but because there is no psychological support in the institutions. Then I looked differently at the whole situation, at my child. I was thinking, she's trying to teach us something. To love each other, to hold on to each other, to stay family. Maybe that's all what it's for. Today, I look totally different than my child. Exactly for this. The child is coming in this world to teach her parents love, to change them, to make them appreciate things they should appreciate. She is a kind, wonderful girl, showing her emotions, expressing her emotions. When it all happened at 1.5 years old, when it all started, I thought my child was just very patient and insensitive to physical pain. For example, after falling down and hitting herself, she could just get up, saying, "Oh," and that's it. When the other child, breaking her knee, would scream and kick and look for comfort, she didn't have that. I thought I just had such a patient child. She never cried breaking her knees or elbows before. Now when something happens, for example, when I scold her, she can get offended. And that's absolutely normal, adequate reaction of a vulnerable child. If she hits herself, she would cry now, and she would look for comfort and compassion. And it wasn't like that before. All such moments, her sensitivity, it is great. It makes me happy. You might think strange, happy while she cries when breaking her knee. Yes, her reactions make me happy. It is not really patience. It is a disorder of psychological structures and nervous system. Might be sounding silly, but that's true. Mother feels happy when the child expresses her feelings, even after hitting herself. Could you please tell us how long did it take between when you learned your daughter had autism and you found infodiving and contacted us? 4 years. Have you contacted anyone for help, and have you had any significant results? We have tried many things, many methods. She has indeed been changing, and but now I realize it was rather due to that she was growing and certain things changed by themselves and not just a result of any particular method. Now I realize that. For example, at some point she stopped running in circles and became more focused. And so now the change is so obvious to me. And to all the people who come and see us, to all the people who know and see my daughter, they tell me she has changed greatly in the last half a year. And it feels great. Surely I don't tell just to everybody about infodiving and that it's all after that I started working with her by your method, and now it's so funny. She understands who to say goodbye and who to say just bye-bye, and sometimes she sees several people, and so she says to some people goodbye and some people bye-bye, and to some people even in English. Where did you hear about infodiving from? My friend from my city, she was one of the first ones to contact you. It was about the boy Mark and his grandmother Galina, and she was the one who called me. The same day I wrote to you guys. Well, when you find yourself in a situation like mine, you are really ready to believe anything. It could not have been worse. She was a very difficult child. There was no words at all. Not a single word. As if she didn't hear me at all. Like there was a wall between me and her. I've been thinking, analyzing what could be the way out of it. She was eating, walking, looking around, but no feedback from her, no reaction. At just so rare moments of clarity, she could come over to me and hug, and that was it. When we needed to do some learning exercises, it was terribly difficult for her and for me, and so stressful. She was refusing, screaming, and I had to make her sit and repeat actions like give, take, put. It was like dog training. Now our classes, it is actually more of an explanation, flows more easy. Letters, colors, we learn now. She's Moreover, she started applying her knowledge that she learns during our classes in the street, in the shop, at home. Like a cognitive process, she sees something and she explains it. Not like before, when she was just being trained for repetitive functions. When she was playing with her phone before, it was rather unconscious, like replaying cartoons. It was useless time spending. No, she's actually looking for information there and reproducing it. Once she came over to me and I told Natalia about it. We learned, we have just been learning the parts of the body, like in general. Nose, lips, eyes, neck, hands, and then she comes over to me and repeats it all to me. Nose, eyes, hands, lips, and then shows it on my elbow and says, elbow joint. She pointed to my leg and named a kind of a bone. I can't even tell you now what kind of bone was that, but she learned it somewhere. She hadn't just taken the information, but she applied it to me as well. When I started thinking, then I remembered she watched a YouTube video about it. And just the night before, I was putting her to bed after I put to bed her younger sister, and then I came over and lay down with her, and she was singing a song. I tried hard to hear the words, and I recognized that that was a song about Christmas tree. Then I started singing with her, and which surprised her greatly. And she looked at me, and then she looked at me and started singing the song from the very beginning. All the books I read to her once, and I was thinking I was reading into emptiness. There was no reaction from my daughter. Now she started repeating them all to me. She told me several little poems. I was shocked. I was taking a video of her and sending to my friends. I was so proud and happy. It's like after many years, you didn't have a contact with your child, and then suddenly she appears. Firstly, the child accumulates passive vocabulary, and later in some time it transforms into active vocabulary. That's what happens in healthy child. This transformation from passive to active does not take too much time. Here, in case of autistic child, the mother is saying that years of regular daily work, classes, trainings, and not seeing results for years, feeling like all the efforts are going into emptiness. And here we have an example when the passive vocabulary has transformed into active vocabulary, and everything that has been accumulating so far is starting to reproduce, and her daughter starts to reproduce all the information she's been accumulating. She responds, she remembers, she repeats. Of course, we have those moments when she goes into herself, needing to digest information, needing to repeat certain things several times, but it all looks just so differently now. She looks an adequate child. Now in the shop, when she's being asked, what do you want? She can answer. She can answer what she wants. Sure, maybe not all of it you can understand, but at least half is clear. She came over to me tonight and said literally, "Give me the phone. I love you, Papusita, very much." It is words. Some were broken, but it is speech, human speech, and it is wonderful. Because if you haven't been in this situation before, you might not feel the great happiness when your child is talking to you. Inside, I have a state of hope. When you have been worried so much that you were shaking inside, and then you start hoping. Little hope. Even for that, a big thank you, guys. Because if you live without a hope, without a future, even in your own head, it is very difficult. And then when somebody gives you a hope that everything will be fine in your family, because when the child is sick, it is the worst for the family. When I was watching the video, I got the hope for a happy future for my child. In this half a year, my child has changed completely. Surely we have difficulties we still have to be working on, like developing a smooth speech, but it all looks so different now. Even in the shop, she's constantly asking if she can take something from the shelf or not. If before it was useless to refuse anything to her, not to cause her huge stress, and that she would not scream and the passers-by would complain and look strange at her. And I just wanted to protect her from aggression from the people around. So I was just like, take everything you want. We buy you everything you want. Now it's all so different. Now she would take something from the shelf and look at me. And if I refuse, she puts it back and takes something else and looks for my approval again. And if no, then it means no. So she understands it now. She started being cheeky. I have noticed she started playing with her little sister outside. And I made an experiment one day. When we were outside with kids, I intentionally stepped aside from them. And I said, Inna, let's go, while the younger sister Sophia was sitting herself in the sandbox. I was stepping away further and further from her, trying to see if she follows me or stays by her sister's side. Inna started panicking, took Sophia by the hand, screaming, "Let's go!" So she didn't leave her sister behind. So it means she has feelings for her little sister. That is not an empty place for her. Yesterday, I was sending you those photos. Yesterday they have been watching cartoons together. She was holding her little sister all the time and hugging her. And when the sister wanted to leave, she didn't let her go, bringing her back to the sofa. She just wanted to see her favorite cartoon together with her little sister. When I was reading Mother's diaries some time ago, Mother was mentioning that her daughter didn't even notice her younger sister before. Look, now she has so much emotions to her little sister. She is taking care of her and hugging. It's unbelievable. It is a totally different child. Totally different child. Doctors that we see praise us all the time, noticing her progress and big changes. What are you expecting from future? What are your plans? School. That's my dream. To take my child by the hand and bring her to school. With white stripes in her hair. It will be the happiest day of my life. Somebody is dreaming of a luxury house, somebody is dreaming of an expensive fur coat, and somebody is dreaming to take her child to school. Can you imagine? We are all so different, and at the same time, we all want love. Feel yourself helpful, and all of us wants to have healthy children. How old is Ina now? She turned 7. What would you convey to other parents who have children with autism? I would advise them to do everything possible to help their children. Do not stop on the way and try to overcome all social barriers like those around, like miracles don't happen. Like it is not curable and you should just accept it. Like you should raise your child as a caged animal locked at home. Such children are just like others. They just need help, and you should be helping your child. Do not rely on state support and money and a lifelong medication that suppresses those children, suppresses their individuality, makes them convenient for society. Hear your child and help your child.
ситуация с каждым из нас.
And the tragedy can happen to anyone at any time.
Молния ударила, и мы можем лечь.
And if a parent does not want to help her child,
Они все понимают.
then the society is not able to help them either.
Показать. Что-то внутри мешает этому ребенку показать свою
Children are thinking, children are understanding everything. They just cannot express it, like the body is not hearing the child. I wish every parent to hear their child and try to help him. I do not care if they say I'm crazy and that I believe in anything possible, but if it can help my child, I want to express a big gratitude to Natalia and Andrei for their work. They give hope and they give me reason to live further. Thank you very much. I also want to say, do not connect Natalia's work with the further development of the child. Natalia and Andrei, they just open up the head, the consciousness of the child, and the rest depends on parents to put all the knowledge and keep on doing all the exercises, keep on those classes, and support learning and development of your child by all possible means. This is what will wait. Everything else will wait, because children is our future. 90% it is work of parents. It is truly so. Parents need to actively step in and not just rely on support from outside. They need to listen to their children, to hear them, keep on doing homework, exercises with them, and every day, step by step, help them acquire new knowledge. Especially, I remember that moment when Ina told me for the first time that she loves me. It happened literally just a month ago. It was not very clear, sounded more like I kill you, but she was saying I love you. I understood that, and I heard that, and I felt that. It was the biggest emotional blast. After Natalia told us to bring her to the seaside, we went to the seaside, and there she started talking in sentences. She started saying, I want to go swimming. It was her first sentence. In the middle of the night, she could get up and wear her blue inflatable ring and ask to go to the beach, and we were going to the beach because she needed the sea. Sure, we need to work a lot, but it is our work already, and therefore, thank you so much. I would be so happy to stay in touch and share our happiness and progress with you. Goodbye. We considered Ina a very difficult case. The child was almost 7 years old and she did not have any speech. Doctors state that if speech wasn't developed until 7 years old, then the child will not be able to speak at all. But our Ina shows opposite. It proves our method, our hypothesis, and that it is working. Natalia, last time you wrote you worked with Ina's kidneys. I'm in shock. She stopped wetting the bed at night completely. Everything has been fine for the whole week already. It is a miracle. We do not have problems at daytime, but at night it was just terrible. Every 2 hours, like a little child, Ina would need to go to the toilet. Not every time she would be waking up. Now, the whole night she sleeps fine. Miracle!